Welcome, everybody, to the third episode of Running It Back, the show that we thought was going to be a very cleverly titled name, and it's turning out not so much, as we have like 10 other podcasts that's called Run It Back now. I'm Jamerson, and joining me of course, again this week is MissHarvey, and we've got two special guests this time around from, of course, China Nguyen. We got Dxn and Cutefatboy. Everyone, how are y'all doing today? Let's start it off with Harvey, of course.
Hi, I'm doing great. I like how the camera for Cutefatboy shows that you're two people into one.
Yeah.
Yeah, Discord's messing around with us, but I'm really excited to actually have both of you on, just because it's been really fun, especially here at Wisdom and GiantSlayer, because we've been having you on for our tournaments when we had them in the past, our fight nights, and seeing you guys grow, and then of course the contract signed GIF tweet. And so a lot of important news is coming out, and we're really excited to talk to you guys. So why don't you guys go ahead and introduce yourself to people that might not know who you guys are at this point. Let's go ahead and start it off with Dxn. First, how are you doing? And go ahead and introduce basically your gaming background and everything else.
Oh, so wait. Okay, so I'm David. I just came from TFT. That was like my most recent game, and my gaming background was I was season 3 challenger for League, and I guess the most important stuff was I played MDL for 1 season of CS:GO, and when they announced Valorant, I made the jump from TF to Valorant because I actually enjoy shooting games more than like strategy games.
That's awesome. I actually didn't know that about you. What team did you play MDL for?
Oh, I played on HWML. It's like the hentai reboot master lords, like with Ghost and Rarkart. It was just like a for fun team. Like we played like main playoffs, and we didn't really scrim, and we were just playing, and somehow we made it to MDL. But
that's awesome.
But we got owned in MDL.
MDL's pretty rough. MDL's pretty rough, but that's pretty cool to know that, you know, one of your former, right? Rarkar was formerly on China Win. You guys have that history with each other. All right, Cutefatboy, how about yourself? Where do you come from?
So yeah, I'm Danny, or Cutefatboy. I actually come from CS:GO as well, but I wasn't like MDL or anything. I only like peaked in main. I played some StarCraft and League of Legends too. Wasn't anything too hot there, but yeah, once Valorant came out, since I was just playing Counter-Strike, I decided to hop over and take it a lot more seriously than I did in CS:GO.
So. Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I peaked at like 32-man Dust servers, so that's all I got from CS.
I played so much of those in my younger days.
Yeah, we're like you have like 10 people on either side, just like camping tunnels and just like trying to get in. Those were the days.
Those are the days, exactly. Yeah. They have no idea what we're talking about because pub servers that are like dead now. It's not the same at all.
Yeah, I said this on like, I forget which Discord server I was in, but I was just like, yeah, 32-man Dust. And they're like, 32-man? I'm like, yeah, come on. I mean, that was all incredible back in the day. But anyhow, we're moving on to different games. And of course, we're talking about Valorant. And we have a lot of news. There hasn't been as many tournaments, but there's still a lot of things coming up. And you know, I think one of the first things we have to talk about is, of course, the next act that's coming out, right? So pretty excited for that. Harvey, why don't you run us down with that?
Yeah, well, first of all, you know, I feel that I still haven't had time to play enough of Act 2. These acts are actually going by pretty fast for someone that is not 100% focused Valorant daily. But yeah, Act 3 sounded pretty exciting because finally, new map, okay? So that was probably why I was the most excited. So as you can see in that little image, there's new map, new skins, also a new agent, and I love her name. Apparently, leaked source told us that she's going to be named Sky, S-K-Y-E, so super cute. But yeah, no, very excited for Act 3, especially because, you know, no more Injection series, but we're going to have a first strike. And it's looking like it's going to be a pretty hype event.
Yeah, I mean, so there are a lot of things, right? And I think more than anything else, like everyone's super excited about a new map. I mean, we've already had some new agents, but having a new map, because playing a best of 5 out of 4 maps, kind of weird. So you can actually have a true best of 5 experience. Cutefatboy, Dxn, like, what do you guys think so far about Act 3? What's your favorite part?
I actually think the new maps can be really good for the game because like in CS there's like 8 or 10 maps, and I think we're just lacking a lot of maps to
Yeah.
just like veto a map or like pick a map like we know a team like really sucks on. Like we don't have that choice in Valorant at the moment, so there's like not as much strategy. And I think like with like a bunch of maps, it's harder to get upset at as well. Like you just pick a map like most teams don't really practice on or like plug as much on. So I think I'm really excited for the new map, especially.
Me too. I'm so excited this morning when someone told me about the new map. I didn't see the news before. I told you guys, but I turned on the game and I was like, let's try this out. Let's get customs. And then I'm like, wait, like it's not there. It's not there. Okay, let me watch the video. And then I watched the video and just wait, that's it? Like there's no information about the map.
Yeah, I think we just like
Nothing.
only see like a team kind of like splitting off at spawn, and that was it. And it's like, okay, well, so the map has 3 lanes. What's different? Like,
Yeah,
but-
okay, there's gonna be a middle in this one. That's pretty much
Yeah.
all I can see.
I just remember like seeing it and I'm thinking like, wow, I'm getting like really heavy like Eco Point Antarctica maps, which was like a map in Overwatch. But overall, like I think the aesthetic looks good. I like it. Of course, changing themes and going around and like having diverse areas. I'm just really excited for having that 5th map. And like DXN said, like you need some more competitive depths, especially when it comes to like, you know, banning and
Yeah.
picking or vetoing maps and stuff, especially when you come from like the CSGO world. It's
Yeah.
so massive here, and it's gonna become less of a meme now when a best of 5 is played and you actually have 5 maps instead of repeating a map. Although I did kind of like that idea, like of being able to repeat a map, but less memes against Valorant, please.
But Danny, right? Cutefatboy,
Yes.
that's your name. Okay, so I was wondering, because you played in MDL, there's a couple of things that kind of reminded me of Nuke. You know, the outside environment, the kind of aware.
Oh, we lost Steph. She'll be back. Don't worry, guys. I think we'll get her in just a moment. But oh yeah, go. She's back. She's back. She's back.
Oh my God, Discord completely crashed on me. I'm trying to. It's in denial. Yeah, I'm sorry. Why is Discord so
See, last
problematic?
week it was me. This week it's you, and so we're
Well,
just kind of
I wanna
moving around the
blame
curse.
Discord. I want to blame Discord. Let me reconnect.
All right. And so yeah, we also got, of course, the new agent, right? I don't look at leaks myself, even though I'm supposed to like know these things about the games. I like to be surprised by these. Have you guys looked at the leaks yet?
So I did look at the leaks because I like to just kind of get an idea of how new agents are going to be. This one seems more like an information type, so like a Sova or like a Cypher. And I'm not sure if it's going to be great because she also has healing as well. And I feel like those two are like kind of problematic, you know, with like Sage, and like in the competitive scene, people are calling for nerfs on like Sova or Cypher because they believe that information's too strong too. So that's interesting. I wonder how they're going to do that. But the information doesn't seem too OP. Like it's not like eyes, like a camera or like a drone. So I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah,
But
so
it's a
she's
bit
kind of
weary.
like this weird hybrid sentinel between like Silva and Sage. And so who on your team, who on China Win is going to be playing that? Is that going to be you, DXN, or is everyone going to give it a go and then we'll see where the dust settles?
I think if we do decide to play her, it would be me. We like think she's better than Sova. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure how her AoE healing is gonna work though. That's just what I'm thinking. Like if it's AoE healing, it's kind of weird because we want everyone to be bunched up, and how much is the healing gonna be? So I'm not sure how that's gonna work.
I'm excited
Yeah.
that she's like a Sova
Yeah.
competitor because, as far as I know, Sova for me is at the top of my tier list in agents. So this might allow for a little more, I want to say, depth or flexibility. You know, when you kind of want to some Sova abilities, but you know, you'd have to make the choice between her and Sova in some maps. So kind of excited for it.
Yeah, hopefully there's a big differentiation between the Soba drone and her bird, because a lot of people are like, oh my god, like getting pinged by a Soba drone is like the most annoying thing in the world. Like some people don't even want it to like ping you; they want it to be like a Soba cam ping, where it's like just like a slight yellow. But yeah, hopefully she's you know better than or fits better niches than Sova, especially with the healing. So.
Yeah, like I'm wondering if it's not something like Killjoy versus Cypher, right? Where they're trying to introduce these kind of like agents that are very similar, but that offer like different playstyle or allow us to do something different. That's how I feel that this agent is gonna be, especially with the Wolves ability. I don't know if you guys talked about it when I crashed, but I think they did some tests with the Spike Rush bubbles in the Wolves. So it's looking that I think she's gonna be pretty cool. But I can't wait to see how our computers are gonna be able to handle all the wolves at the same time as the volleys and the smokes. And so far, Valorant has been doing great for that. I'm not gonna lie, this is not like a Counter-Strike moment where your computer wants to explode when everything's at the same time.
One thing I want to talk about with like the release of another agent is just that how do you guys feel about the pacing of the release of the agents? Because we just got Killjoy like 2 months ago. We had Reyna basically around launch. How do you guys feel about the pacing so far in terms of basically having fresh content for like, you know, new players or like just the casuals, and then also it being introduced into the competitive scene?
I think it's pretty interesting because like a lot of teams, they want to be like the first, or some teams they want to be the first to like use an agent and like be the best of the agent. And I think it makes it just makes it more interesting. And I actually like the pacing because I think at a certain point there'll be agent banning. I think that'll be really interesting as well.
Oh, you're right. I can't
What do you
wait
guys
for
think?
that.
Like, how many agents would you need before you had to like start getting into like agent banning?
How many agents do we have now? It's like 10, right? So I would say like around 12 to 14. I'd say you probably need like one ban at that point. Once it gets to like 20, you probably
Oh.
need like 2.
Yeah, I think at 20 would be good. Like one ban from each team.
Yeah.
You play TSM, insta ban Jet.
Yeah.
Damn!
That's the nerf we needed. Yeah, no, because like I come from different games, right? I've come from Overwatch and Apex Legends, and both of those really did suffer from like very slow development time. And at this point, I don't know, when was the last time Overwatch released a new hero? I have no idea. It used to be like every 4 months or so. Same thing with Apex Legends, and everyone kind of complained that it was way too slow. And so I'm glad that Riot just has had a new agent out almost every 2 months or so now. It's been nice for keeping things fresh, and especially for I think like the day and age that we live in, when everyone just wants something fresh and new, like every other week or something. So I think they're doing a really good job of keeping people's interest in the game.
Okay, chat says this is gonna be the 13th agent. 13th. Oh, I don't know how to pronounce that in English, my friends, but 1-3 agent. And you know what? I do. Okay, for me, I'm on the verge. I think that they're releasing a lot of agents, and it's really scary because we don't want it to become League of Legends. But at the same time, if you look at Rainbow Six, they released a lot of agents, and it's still working really well. Actually, it's working better than ever, and people are loving all the agents and whatnot. So, and considering that Valorant is kind of doing the Rainbow Six approach, where it's more about the weapons and the shooting and the team strategy than the abilities. Like the abilities are supposed to complete everything. I would still want to believe in them, but I'm a little bit like, is it too fast?
Hey, how many operators are there in Rainbow Six though? There's like what, 60 or something? I don't know. I lost track a long time ago.
Rainbow Six. Keep talking while I Google this.
But I think Riot did talk about how they plan to release a lot of agents really fast early on, but they're slowed down on the second year and onwards.
57.
57 operators. I was close.
That's a ton.
But I like this idea, especially right now. I think it'll be easier for them to balance overall, right? Like kind of like having slow iterations. It'll just kind of drag on. Instead, you just want to release a number, like release like 4 or 5 really quickly, and then try to balance around that, and then like do it in kind of like bursts and spurts to keep the game feeling fresh, but also being able to not just like balance in a vacuum, right? And having more information about like how this agent will do with like this next upcoming agent and stuff. So I'm glad that they're doing this. If they slow it down, I'm okay too, because one almost every 2 months is, I feel like, really fast in terms of development time.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
but
it's. Oh,
Go
sorry.
ahead. Go ahead, David.
For casuals, I
Yeah.
think it's really good for new agents to be released every 2 months
That's
because
true.
a lot of people that are casual players, they're not thinking in CS:GO terms. They're not thinking about like competitive and like they're not comparing all the time, right? So they want Valorant to be Valorant. And I think if you're able to release like a fresh agent, it keeps the casual base looking forward to the competitive scene. Because what if someone's like they really like Sky and they're like, oh, I want to see Sky and like competitive, then they'll tune into like competitive stuff. But if you just see like Jet only, right? Not everyone's gonna be like a super Jet fan. Some people get like really tired of it. So once you have like a new take on something, I think it's good for everybody overall early on. But
I want to apologize. I thought it was actually DXN talking, so I called
uh,
him. I called you, David. So that's why you
it's okay.
smiled. You're like, it's actually Daddy. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you.
And
Yeah. Okay. I like that they're teasing us as well with background and where she's supposedly from, like country Australia, but they are giving us like no backstories at all. And it's kind of allowing us to create our own backstories. Guys, do you have like characters that you make fun of while you play them, or that you always put some emphasis on things like Molly, or that's for me, Cypher in my head, his backstory is that he's a creep. He's like is hella crazy creep that
No, he's like 100% a voyeur, right? Like he's
Yes.
got the trench coat, he's got the cameras, so like and the
and he has
hat, so
these
like
weird lines where you're just like, oh my god, you're such a creep, get out of here.
yeah, it's
Do
a
you guys
fine
have
line
those?
between being like a stalker and then being like a private investigator,
Yeah.
right? Like-
Or Jet, she's so sassy. Like she's the coolest in the club and in the gang, and she doesn't have any friends because she's like too cool to be friends with. Do you guys have these kind of storyline between you and the team?
I think for myself, it's definitely Brimstone, but it's because like I'm pretty sure the voice actor for Brimstone is also the American voice actor for like Spike Spiegel on Cowboy Bebop. And so like every time I hear it, I can like kind of hear it in like the Spike the character. And so it's just always fun like having Brimstone and like hearing the voice lines whenever he speaks.
Molly.
so yeah, for our team, we actually back when Ghost and Arakar were on the team with and Psalm, that's when everyone used to have like the little voice flavors on. We would always meme about the shock darts, and so like it'd be like a really important moment, and you would just hear like Ghost like say like shock dart, and then so it's just kind of like, oh okay, like cool. And yeah, everyone has like their own thing, but yeah, after I kept hearing ciphers, I just had to like turn it off because it was getting like too weird, and that's like my main. So I'm just like, all right, like this is too much. It's too much.
I'm at the edge of thinking that Cypher likes child pornography. Like that's
his
where I
lines are
think
weird.
Yeah, he's
his
got like pictures
lines
of
is
kids.
so weird.
Yeah.
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 Or when he talks to Breach about creating these traps with Breach's body parts. Oh my. He said, Breach. I took a something from your arm to make my traps. Breach. You guys never heard that one? Oh
No,
my
No.
god. It's because I played so much Breach during the Inniction event. Like, I know chat, you guys are doing question mark, go look it up. One of his Breach line is really messed up. All right. I think that's it for this news. Oh, actually, there's one thing we didn't talk about. Well, okay, no. Producer's like, you know what? Let's talk about what's coming next.
No, we've got I mean there's like still a lot of news, right? I mean they also introduced the competitive changes, and so
yeah, that's what I wanted to tie in. Yeah, absolutely.
let's go ahead and break down some of the competitive changes. So they're changing up, of course, kind of who you can queue with in competitive, and so they're really decreasing that. I think they said 3 tiers is the difference, and also you're going to be able to select or prefer the server that you play on, but it won't always 100% put you on the server that you can play on. And I believe there was a duo queue announced as well. So with all that news, let's go ahead and get yours. I mean, I'm still kind of stuck down there, so none of this
Quality of life.
Yeah, like the
Improvement
one
for
thing I
everyone.
worry about, with like how the select your like preferred server works is that oftentimes you can find like a kind of like fragmented and almost like different ecosystems in like the ranked system. I mean, it happened in Overwatch. There wasn't like a select your server preference for Overwatch, but like you could VPN so that you could be on West Coast and you could be on East Coast, and like there was a marked difference in the skill level between like a Grandmaster in East Coast and a Grandmaster in West Coast. I mean, do you
Wait,
guys worry
which
about
one
that
was
happening?
better? Which one was better before we jump
West
in?
Coast, always the best coast. Let's come on. East Coast was like the meme. East Coast was the meme.
All
But
right.
yeah, do you guys worry about that at all?
So I think my take on that is like in the Radiant queue, I think that won't really matter because like the amount of people Radiant queuing at the same time, I think it'll usually just put them on the same server, like even if they're West and East. So that won't really help the West players that much, but it'll like just help them as they're climbing up.
Also, I think that that's my personal opinion coming from CS and like precise shooters. In Valorant, I do feel that there's a really big difference between 75 ping and 40 ping. So even if you're East, like sometimes I don't think it's worth it going to West just because you can really feel your shot missing or that the game is like heavier when you have above 70, 80 ping. Like like if I'm not mistaken, when I play from like 10 ping to like 40, 50, it's pretty much like smooth either way. But as soon as I get to that 65, 70 threshold, I can really feel it. So I would personally not even want to take that risk.
Yeah, I don't think it's too bad. I think if they are gonna implement it, I think they should show you which server you have in the agent select. So like if you're from West Coast and you get like a central server, you probably don't want to play like a jet. You probably play something more passive like a Killjoy or
Oh.
Cypher. So yeah, if they do that, I think it's really good. But if they don't, it's kind of like you kind of get tilted once you or people might dodge though. That's like a big issue too. They might dodge if it's not their server. And yeah, you probably don't want that.
Yeah, it might create more issues that they're gonna have to fix on a patch. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
At least there's a solution. And I honestly didn't think about that idea that like it just helps you to get to Immortal, get to Radiant, and then from there you're gonna just have to prove yourself. And so I like that, making it less frustrating to get there for a lot of the players. So very interesting take. I definitely did not think about that. And
One thing about the matchmaking, like the fact that it's now 3 tiers instead of 6 tiers. I don't know about you boys, but when I queue with my friends, we have actually a document with all of our alt accounts and where their ranks are. And when we want to play together, it kind of jumped on the alts because that 6th tier was already kind of. I understand at a very, very high level when you want to like make sure that you don't get queued versus a too big of a disparity. But when we were playing around like diamond and plat, like just for fun with friends, that 6 tiers is already too much. Like we did all the counts for everybody that was like radiant and whatnot. And I feel that 3 tier for tighter matchmaking across the board is gonna just make us have even more alt accounts to play together.
Yeah, I'm kind of worried what they're gonna do about the queue because it's pretty long right now. Like if you're Radiant,
yeah,
yeah,
they said
I'm not.
I remember
I'm not
them
sure how.
saying something like that, right? Like they've implemented something so that you don't have as many like hour-long queues. And of course, like we see it a lot because we see the streamers and like a lot of the high-rated players having to go through it. And they said this was like, oh, this is like a very rare thing, but it's so visible to everyone that's like involved in the competitive scene. So how do they like improve upon that?
Do you guys have Smurfs?
So I personally don't Smurf on. Yeah, because I don't like. I only Smurf on another account that's already high. Like so, I have 2
So
Smurfs, but I
you
keep them
have
the
a
same
Smurf.
rank. Yeah, but they're the same rank, so I don't like going down like in levels because in my opinion, I think like I've seen my friends play like I think iron to like maybe gold. I think that's fine to have that big of a gap. But once you get to like Diamond Immortal, I feel like there is a pretty big difference between like a Diamond 1 and like an Immortal 1. You know what I mean? So I think when Riot is like kind of making that duo queue, solo queue thing in Immortal Plus, I think that's okay. And then the 3 rank gap, I'm not sure if they should do that for every rank, because I don't think every rank is
same.
evenly, spread across 3 tiers. Some are like have a higher slope. So
I would tend to agree with that too. Also, no more ties for Immortal Plus ranks. I mean, for me, I never, ever, ever want to play a tie. Like, I never vote for a tie. Like, for me, if you come into a game, why the hell would you want to get away with a tie? Like, it's just like, no, we either win or lose. Like, there's no tie. Like, is this a competitive game or are we pussies? And I'm always like making sure that everyone is playing the game. And whenever we end up with a tie, it's definitely on the opponent's team. And they're scared because my team is never scared. What about you guys?
Yeah, I never vote to draw either. But
yeah, if you vote for a draw, you're kind of like you're like already a loser. You know what I mean? Like, 'cause you're not really trying to win, so you're really a loser. So I don't know. Yeah, people that draw, I don't know about that.
So
I've never clicked F5 in my life, so F6 only.
F6 is what is this? F6 is continue.
I think that's continue. Yeah.
Okay.
So.
But yeah, no. So now it's gonna be 100% wins and losses for the rant outcomes. And so that also means that even if you have a good performance and you lose, that won't be used in the rank outcomes, which I also think it's good.
Did they say it's that for Immortal only?
Immortals and Plus.
Oh, okay. I don't know if they should do that. Maybe Radiant. Like, I think once you hit the leaderboards, I think that's okay, because everyone kind of knows each other. But in like Immortal, like you might have some bot accounts. I don't know. So especially like because everybody's smurfing and whatnot right now, some funny stuff might be happening. I don't know. I personally like the one where it favors you doing well, because I think everyone should be able to frag out at a certain point, and there's no real excuse.
Yeah, I think it might just be for ranks.
Yeah, for ranked, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so if you are like, you might not lose, but you might not lose points in ranks, but you're gonna like not rank up, if that makes any sense. So you could like have a good performance, not lose anything. Well, from what I understand, that's all gonna be like when we test it or we have more details about it. I assume we're gonna know more. But the way it says, it's really rank outcomes, right, are decided by win and losses, and no more like individual performance. So, what does exactly it means, we'll see, I guess. Okay, now we can jump production. I'm hearing you. We can we can now jump into the next news. There it is. Our first strike tournament is announced, and it's going to be the Europe one. Excited for that, guys?
Yeah, I'm very excited.
I'm definitely excited for it. It's just the timeline is a little weird because like they're announcing it and it's like it feels pretty far out because there's really nothing else in between, right? So it starts next month, and we just got into October, so an entire month from now, and it just feels so far away. And I'm glad that they did find something, right? Because they announced, oh yeah, we had our last Ignition series 2 weeks ago, a week ago. I don't know. That already feels like an eternity ago. And so I just wish there was a little bit more happening in between now and then.
That's because you've been spoiled. Because in other games, announcing a month in advance is good. Like, it's last minute. Valorant has had a lot of stuff in the last months, but I don't know. In CSGO, our major is canceled in 2020 and nothing since. So, so you've been spoiled, Jamerson.
Yeah, I definitely have. But I think Riot has done an amazing job. It's just this 1 month off. I don't know how like a lot of teams are approaching it, especially for you guys yourselves, right? Over on China Win, like you guys just played in the Nerd Street Gamers like what, last week, and then what else is in the future right now for you guys?
Well, there's there's gonna be a tournament. I can't go into details of
Oh,
and the teams in it should be really good. So
Yeah.
it's not hosted by Riot though.
Yeah, so I
Okay,
think
okay.
a lot of teams are using this time to just kind of
Do
reshuffle.
roster change.
Yeah, and like kind of scrim it out. So I mean, we don't have a roster change, so we're just we're just chilling. But other teams are like really scrambling and like one time you're scrimming one team and like the next week it's like a different like like two people probably get changed or something like that. So I think it's good for people on
Yeah.
in like tier 1 for this to be like a month long. But people in the tier 2 where like roster changes aren't too dramatic, I think it's good to have like kind of filler tournaments, and I think there should be one soon. So yeah, like David said, we can't really go into much detail about it, but
Yeah, so how is your org being handling these announcements?
David, do you want to get that one?
They plan to announce it next week on the 14th.
Okay. But I'm
Yeah.
gonna keep testing you guys all
poke
during
and
the whole-
prod until we get it.
I'm gonna try to just like say names randomly, like how's Cloud9 being approaching? Well, it's not Cloud9, but obviously I'm just gonna Google orgs with no Valorant team, and I'm just gonna drop some names and see how you guys react.
That's fair. That's fair.
Okay. More roster stuff. We have the official 100 Thieves roster, which is Hiko, Steel, Nitro, Asuna, and Dicey. So yeah, let's discuss a little bit how that new roster was set up. For me personally, I don't know much about Asuna and Dicey, so maybe someone can fill me in on that.
No, I'm actually kind of in the same boat. Like, I don't know anything about Asuna, and like doing the research, I'm still kind of like, who? It's just not a name that like really does point out, like stand out to me. And I think a lot of people were already worried, like when the roster was like being announced initially for this squad.
Mhm.
It was just like, oh yeah, it's so many big names. So who are they going to fill this out with? And now it's just kind of like, oh, they went in like the complete opposite direction. So I honestly don't have much information about either Asuna or Dicey.
Have you guys played them yet?
Yes, we've scrimmed them a couple times. And I actually think their team is actually very compared to a bunch of other teams that we've scrimmed. Like Asuna, he played on Immortals previously, and I think he kind of carried them pretty hard. He's just like an explosive play. He's kind of like Decop, but for them. He just goes in, he just frags out. Like
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Dicey's kind of the same as well with the op. So when we scrimmed them, they were like, in my opinion, I think they're like the most fresh team in terms of like strats. Like when we're against like other tier 1 teams, we're not like, oh my gosh, that is like so sick. And then like at like early, mid, and late round, actually, their early, mid, and late round is completely different than any other team like that we've ever played. So I think they're gonna push the meta. So good or bad, right? So you don't know until real matches come. But and scrims are definitely something sick, and you guys should
And-
really be excited.
They are both 17. So, I mean, it's something that I've talked before, Jamerson. I think it might have been last cast, but I expected this to be two youngings to complete that roster, especially since, Spencer, Josh, they're getting a little bit older. Let's just be real, right?
Yeah.
And most of the successful team in pretty much all the games at the moment are composed of experience in youngings and the firepower and kind of have no fear. And Asuna and Dicey, from what I understand from you guys, might be that key that was missing. So okay, I'm excited to see them perform then.
Yeah, they definitely like filled out that role that I think everyone was expecting. Everyone was saying, looking at the initial 3, Hiko, Nitro, and Steel, that like they're all very similar. They're all pretty slow, methodical. They need someone that's going to be dynamic. And if that's what they've got, then this is definitely going to be a scary team.
For sure. And on that same vein, there's also a couple of more roster announcement and changes. The Energy family is trying to come back together. We're gonna see Daps come home, I like to say, as well as Chet as well. So Chat, for those who don't know, is a Counter-Strike coach. He just announced recently that he was going to quit the scene, and I assume he's now going to start his career in Valorant with potentially one of the highest profile coach in Valorant at the moment. Like there are coaches left and right, but if I'm not mistaken, that might be the first time a coach makes the switch as high profile as Chet. And Daps also announced that he's kind of bored and kind of over CS, although he's at the top of the world very recently. And now he's going to lead that team with energy. So what do you guys think about it?
You know, I'm always wary about people that switch directly from Counter-Strike to Valorant because I don't think you can actually be insane at first. Like, I don't think that transition is really like as smooth as people think it is. It's not the same game at all. Like the mechanics, they're like similar, but they're not the same. Like you don't even shoot the gun the same way, right? Like in Counter-Strike, it's like one taps and like a spray. You rarely like burst and in this game, it's like you only burst. You don't really like hold down a spray. And the strats are obviously different. The way you approach scenarios are completely different. But you know, with that being said, they do have like a really good IGL and a really good coach. So maybe they can like think of things a lot newer and fresh than most teams, like 100 Thieves, right? Like they have like 3 previous IGLs. So in my opinion, they're like super innovative. So it could be exciting, but I don't have my hopes up, unfortunately, until I see something.
Yeah, they're kind of like a mystery to me too. I'm not sure how they're gonna do. Like, cause I feel like it doesn't really translate like 1-to-1 either. Cause I know there's like a bunch of like good CS players that switched over and they're not as good in Valorant.
Yeah, one thing like I noticed, of course, like I think in the intro video is that they had Ace on there, and like it didn't sound like he had plans to like join the team because it sounded like, you know, he's full bore on the content creation and like being a streamer. But like, what if Ace did just decide, yeah, screw it, you know, I'm gonna like compete again? Like, how would you build that?
I believe it.
Yeah,
I
build that
believe
team
it
around
because
Daps and Ace.
look at Hiko. You know, the fire to compete sometimes is just stronger. I know for me, I sacrificed my content creation career and streaming career completely. Like I went from one of the top streamer to nothing just because of my competitive career. And I think that that's what Hiko is kind of like trying to do a little bit. He's on the verge. You know, Shroud had to do that decision and eventually he was like over it. But I believe that Ace never really got that success in competition. Like he was never at the top of the world in competition. He still probably has that fire to and that desire to show that he's one of the best player in the world. So I wouldn't be surprised. But they announced 2 hours ago, and it's not on that screenshot. They announced 2 hours ago that some from Gen GCS was going from Gen G to Energy to join Valorant. So another, I want to say, kind of important announcement here for Valorant joining Energy. So Daps, Chet, some potentially Ace. That could be a team that is very interesting. I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah, I think Ace is really good. I watch his stream from time to time. I think he's actually a very solid player if you compete as well. And he's very calm, like when something crazy, like he's getting killed by a stinger. He's like very calm about it too. He's just like, I think he'll be good if he actually played competitively.
I think
Go ahead.
I think it'd be really good if he joined too, just because he's like so marketable as well. You know what I mean? It's just like the amount of hype that's around just like Ace is just insane. Because when you play against them, like it's kind of like playing against tens. You just die, right? When you see like their shoulder or something, and it's kind of like, oh, okay, like what are you gonna do about it? And I want to see that translate to like a competitive aspect, because I think with, you know, a good foundation, I think he is going to be able to pop off, like because he's just a good player. So yeah.
And I completely agree. Steph, you're absolutely right. Like he never found that success. Even when he like transitioned to Apex for the short while that he did, NRG did not do well at all whatsoever. And like still not finding that success as a competitor, even though you know you've got the skill to like absolutely pop off, like something's got to eat away at you. And it sounded like all indications he was going to stay as a content creator, but I feel like he could really, really make that transition and wants to himself.
I feel this is the same for Dizzy. I don't know if you guys watch her, Dizzy, but I feel it's the same, you know. He's been kind of on the verge of being one of the best, but always kind of just behind. And potentially, I would see him if he had a good, solid team to play with. And I think that might be what Ace is waiting for. Who knows? Like, who can Energy get? You know, a bunch of no-namers or someone with Chet and Daps and Psalm. Like, oh, okay, now we're talking. You know, can maybe like we just get another player that's high profile like that, and we're good to go. Like, you know, I don't know. I just like competition so much. I want him to compete. I want him to see what he can do with it. And I think that Energy is a good fit too because they love content. So maybe they could make it work. You know, they could make it where they could work around his schedule to still make him as popular as he is.
I think like working with Hex and stuff like that, there's an easy transition for them to be able to do that. Like Hex has done an amazing job with the Optic brand, and so if they continue to work, you know, and be able to develop that out, like they can find that balance. I think honestly, you just kind of have like a media team and like just really help them do that and kind of put that on autopilot for them, for like in terms of like production of content and stuff. And allow them to compete. I think right now is a really good time to try and build out brand and build out your players and really kind of, you know, inflate them and like really help them out in their career. And so I think this is the opportunity. This is probably the best setting for like Ace to make that transition into competition possible. All
right. Enough about this, guys. Let's jump into the patch notes. There was a lot of small patch notes, I want to say, but one of the most important one, I don't know if you guys were able to read about the operator change. I am liking the changes. Let me reopen the exact notes just so that we can. Oh, you have it for me. You're so sweet. Production is always on point. But first of all, they increased the price, which is I think it's an important step. It was so easy to buy. Decrease the scope, movement, speed. That's also pretty interesting. But you know, the weapon dead zone from becoming inaccurate at 30% movement speed to 15, become inaccurate sooner. I think that's extremely important, as well as the fire rates, the instant equip time, the last shot damage, and on top of that, they did some changes with jump and abilities, weapon recovery. So for jets and in other kind of situation, you're gonna have your weapon recovery be slower. So not just one operator change, like 15 of them, to just say, you know what, let's do a drastic change and see how that feels. What do you guys think?
We
Go ahead.
Sorry, we never really abused the op that much, so we were just like, okay, like cool. Like now, teams that did abuse it are, you know, they're gonna be like in shambles. And we actually did run into a team, not TSM. We really did run into a team that really did get hit hard by that nerf, and it was kind of like it was very apparent what was happening. And so we think it's really good. I think it's I don't think your gameplay should ever be based off of small gimmicks like that. Like ever, one agent,
Totally
one
agree.
mechanic, one gun. Like that's just too much. And I think it's a good nerf. I don't know if they should have nerfed the op at the same time as nerfing Jet though. You know, I would rather it being slow, but it's not a big, like it turned out to not be like that big of a deal in my opinion.
Yeah, it was like a two-pronged nerf, and it was kind of interesting because a lot of the people's complaints was in combination with Jet, but they're touching your ultimate for the most part, right? To the best of my knowledge, and I thought that was kind of interesting, but I don't know. I don't know how I feel about like those particular Jet nerfs in combination with the operator nerfs.
It's a little bit intense, but like you talked about, Danny. Yes, got it. Like you talked about Danny. I didn't. I've talked about it in the last show, but I want to reiterate on it. I didn't like how you had to use abilities or strategies to flush that up out, and still that recovery was almost instant, and they could just punish you for taking control of a part of the map. So for me, it was definitely something that was necessary. Like you can still hold angles, but once you got fleshed out, you most likely have to reset. And like before, you could like repeat and get the kill, which is kind of ridiculous to me. So let's see what it does. I mean, they're quick on the small edits for these characters. They have the tendency to change the updates a little less often with their weapons. So I'm sure if the jet becomes completely irrelevant, they're probably gonna give her a little bit of love again.
I actually think Jet is still good right now.
She is?
Like
Okay.
yeah, like most teams right now, they're doing like some kind of breach combo, and then a Jet rifle just dashes in, and it's just like the Jet just gets a free kill when that happens. Like you get stunned, and then flash, and Jet dashes in. You can't do anything about that. So
Yep.
I think she's still good, just not like the one trick Jet offering now. And her knives, it's just a right click that gets nerfed. Like before, you could get sniped like mid range by the right click. But now, like, I think it's more like has a higher skill set because most of the time you're using the left click now, which is still fine in my opinion. I think like the good Jet players, you'll still be fine.
Yeah, the damage drop off starts fairly close, like 12 or 15 meters, right?
Yeah.
Another agent that was actually touched is something that you guys have been running a little bit more. It's been decop on the Reyna, and the Empress got nerfed there. How do you guys feel about that? Is that really gonna? Do you think that does anything? I mean, it's a rate of fire decrease, right, from 25 to 15%. Does that affect how you guys are going to play around her, or like, are you guys going to be playing her less? What can you guys tell us about the Reyna nerf?
I really feel like the Reyna, the most broken part about her is not the fire rate. It's mainly her dismiss, and when she has her ult, she goes invisible and she heals during that. Those are like the important parts about Reyna that they didn't touch. So we still plan on using Reyna though. Like the fire rate is not even that big of a deal in my opinion.
I think the fire rate was actually a buff because now you could actually use the Phantom on her. Before it was like always impossible to use the Phantom in her ult because the spray would just go like zigzag. But now it's just like it's actually like you can control it the first like 2 seconds. So
it's kind of like when you get hit by the stun, right? Like your rate of fire gets changed. Like you shoot like 2 bullets a second or something, but for whatever reason, as soon as you get hit with that stun, you're just hitting all headshots.
Yep, that's actually right. Yeah, that's right in a nutshell with her new ult now with the Phantom. It's like you accidentally get headshots now. It's actually incredible. So
And there's also Viper here. Let's be real. She's pretty much touched every single update now, and still we're not using it. Poor little Viper. I love her aura and her lore so much. What do you guys think about all these changes for this patch?
You got it.
Viper is in a tough spot. So so what I've always believed is that the maps by design are really bad for Viper because they're so like everything's so like closed in. Because when you use Viper, people kind of want to use her as like a smoke agent and like, but she has a bait, right? So she can't really play around her smokes that well on a small site because you could just get naded or like util thrown on you or things like that. And she kind of like, there's other agents on these maps that are just more valuable than her.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're Viper, like, okay, if you're playing Brim or Omen, right? They can die, like going in. They could molly, they could flash, and then they could just like expend their body. As a Viper, you cannot do that. When you use your smokes and you die, your smokes go down, right? So on a bigger map, she might be a lot better because she can actually play like around the smokes rather than going into whatever choke point that she needs to get into. Does that make sense? So she can actually make like more gimmicky plays, and that's why I think on like split, she's probably better because she doesn't. A lot of teams when they're going A, they smoke off top A ramp and top heaven, right? And they just leave their Viper on the ramp area, mauling like elbow or screens, and they just let their Viper sit there the whole round. And that's the only time she's ever useful. Or like in Mail, you throw like the one way, and then you just sit on top of Mail staying alive. That's her use, right? It's just being annoying. You can't just have her go in and just be like an entry fragger or something like that, or like a secondary entry. So yeah, I think they just need to remake the maps, to be honest. That's the real thing, not Viper.
So maybe on that new map, the Icebox map that we were very teased about or today, we will see if Viper can have more utility. I think there's something about potentially maybe reutilizing or replacing her wall that could really make a big difference. Maybe it's a long cooldown, or I don't know. I don't quite know what it would mean. But
I think.
yeah,
Go
go
on.
ahead.
I think, in my opinion, I think Viper is pretty good on split, just like as a side anchor, and an A lurk on T side. But I think that she's one patch away from actually being. I think the buff that she needs is like if she dies, I think her smokes and wall they don't go down. Still uses off the bar, and then when the bar is gone while you're dead, I think she'll be usable after that.
So wish that your Viper dies early.
Yeah.
You meta.
Yeah. But that might
Yeah.
be OP though. That's like one step from being like OP.
Yeah, I
That's the
think
issue.
I think that's the one patch where she'll be used
Yeah.
as a smoker.
All right. We'll see. We'll see in 2 weeks when we're back on the show what buff she's gonna get. Because let's be real, she's gonna get another one.
Yeah.
All right. Let's jump. Jamerson, are you ready to jump into the hot topic?
Oh, always, always.
Which is my favorite part of the show, because that's where we can go all in with controversy and whatnot. What do you think about Valorant and the COVID year that we've just had? There's no LANs, no major events outside of online. Do you guys think that the tier 2 scene is hurting because of that? Do you guys think that it would have, well, obviously it would have been a completely different story if we were here without COVID. But what do you guys think that we're missing out on because of COVID?
Just really the lands, but I actually don't know if it hurts, I would say, because I think it's good to have like an online kind of environment first to kind of feel out, because at one point, you know, you're gonna have people that are like, oh, unless you've had like these LAN experiences, you can't join our team or whatever, you know, and you start like building egos like way too early.
Yeah.
And so I think the COVID thing is actually okay. And as long as LANs are next year where there's no crowd and it's just like your physical body, I think that would be like the next step. And obviously everyone has to like take the temperature and whatnot. But yeah, for now I don't think it hurts too much aside from like the cheaters and like these like lower tier tournaments and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, typically like tier 2 has been online anyhow, right?
Yeah.
So for tier
Yeah.
2, it's just kind of like the status quo. It just more than anything, it does hurt like kind of tier 1. But I think overall, it helped the tier 2 scene or
Yeah.
like a lot of newer players, because then you had to pay attention to them, right? Because there weren't all these big major lands that were taking attention away. You have to pay attention to all these new tier 2 players. So I think honestly, it helped a lot. Like I think for a lot of games, COVID actually helped more than it hurt. It might be a hot take there, but like
not for Apex. Let's say that.
no, I think for Apex it definitely helped. I think for Apex it
You
definitely
think
helped.
so? It was
I think
supposed to be a full-on LAN year, 2020, and then everything was canceled.
Yeah, but it was one event in like May, one event in like June, and then in August. Like they
Okay.
were very spread apart. Like there's a lot more events happening now, and I think it helped naturally
CS:GO.
build. Yeah, that's right. CS:GO, it definitely. I would say it hurt. It hurt.
Everyone just said like, okay, we're not playing anymore. We're way too cool to play online. That's pretty much what happened with CS:GO. What about you, David?
I think it's a blessing, and I think it helps and hurts. There's like a lot at lands that changes people. Like people perform different when they're like on stage and like in front of a big camera, and it's like we don't get any of that. And also like after the lands, like you don't get to meet person and connect with other teams as well. So like kind of hurts and helps, but I think it helps the T2 scene for sure though, because of what Jamerson said earlier.
Yeah, you're right though. Like you guys are missing out on like some really important like networking ish like opportunities, and so I get that too. And so I think it is a double-edged sword. Damn, I really didn't think about that. That's really important. Like how do you guys actually approach talking to organizations at this point? Then, you know, like if you're not able to like meet face to face and be like, you know, I'm this guy, blah blah blah, it's completely different in how you like handle negotiations and stuff if you've met them in person. Like how has it been for you guys having to navigate everything online?
So most of the time the offers come from a Twitter DM.
From who?
And from like Twitter DMs. Like they just message you. Oh, I can't say. But and we also have like an agent that's also like reaching out to a bunch of orgs at the same time. Well, so negotiations. I mean, like it's not that bad.
Yeah, you still see each
Yeah.
other if you have like webcams and stuff. So it's not
Yeah.
completely, and it also saves you like if you're actually having like a IRL meeting, it saves you from having to travel and whatnot, which is like sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, I think for orgs, I think people just want to see like I think people are really good at working around it. It's not too big of an issue. Like we said, the worst part is just communicating with like your own teammates and like other teams where you can't have that network. That's like the biggest, like David said, it's like the biggest problem, right? Because you just can't relate and things like that. So
Did you get your new jerseys by mail already?
No, not yet.
Okay.
not yet.
One day we'll know. I bet you guys are gonna announce
It'll
it
be
like
soon. It'll be soon.
after this podcast. It will be so sad.
Well, what I'm wondering is like, okay, so like when like everything with Corona happens, I remember last time that we tried to get Decop out to a LAN, he wasn't able to because of visa issues. Like, and so now that we don't have to really worry about visa issues with everything being online, I think that's like another kind of like benefit of like what COVID has done, because you don't have to travel, you don't have to deal with visas, and so you don't miss out on an opportunity.
You also can't recruit outside of your country or your area and zone, which could be hurting NA or EU. We don't know. Potentially, there could be like a lot of more tier 2 CSGO recruits in NA from the EU region because no one in the EU is picking up any team, and it's all happening in NA so far. So potentially, there could be some player pool, a bigger player pool to pick from.
There was an announcement, right? I don't know how to pronounce this. I'm gonna try my best, but soccer fans, football fans can hate me. Real Betis, is that the team soccer club name in I think it's Spanish. I believe it's Spanish. They actually picked up basically a group of ex Overwatch players, Line Pro, Toxican, and no, Bromos. Excuse me, not Toxican. Bromos and Poppy Fresh. 3 of players that I'm familiar with from Overwatch. And so I think EU is starting to like kind of find its footing because EU's kind of always been weird with like organizations there. I think a lot of football clubs have been like trying their hand at trying to get into esports, and this is another venture. So I think EU is doing like okay on that front.
We'll see with that first strike event. Like, since we have a month, maybe more orgs are going to be on the lookout to get one team to participate in that event. So maybe it's going to be China and Nguyen playing in the EU event, flying over there for Fnatic or something.
Oh.
It might. You never know. Like the possibilities are endless. So
Yeah.
Were there any talks about changing the team name once you got like players like Decop on the roster, because it became less China Win at that point?
So we actually, it's actually funny. I think Pancakes was actually the only one that was like, wait, what the heck, guys? Decop didn't really care, but whenever we had, so the team name originally, it was actually Ghost who came up with the name China Win, and he was the only non-Asian guy. So it was just be like China for Rarkar, Win for me and David, and then we would have like the Korean flag for Psalm, right? And then there was just Ghost who made the name. And then once that was gone, I remember like, one of the first talks was like, are we gonna rebrand? And then like I think that Payne like said that, and then we were like, nah, this name has like history behind it, so like we're fine. And now we have 3 wins on the team, so it's all right. We call Carlos Win now, so
honorary.
Yeah.
That's actually awesome. I definitely wanted to know about that. But you know what? It looks like we've reached the end of the show. So this is your, yeah, I know, right? But this is a platform for you guys at this point. So anything you guys want to say, shout outs to anybody, especially your new team.
Yep.
David can start off with that one. David,
I can't really say anything, but I guess I can say that it's not really what anyone's really expecting. But the financial backer is huge. That's all I can say about it.
All right. What about shout outs? Like, who do you guys want to shout out this week?
So I would personally like to shout out to Mikhail from Genji, or Michael, because he helped me the most with Cypher, and like I've always looked up to him. whenever I played, and big shout out to my team too, trying to
Mikhail
win.
is awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, I have a huge respect for those guys on Genji because in my opinion, I think they're like one of the
Yeah,
best teams to learn from.
I love the Genji guys as well. They're great.
Yeah, and shout out to my team that's about to announce us.
Woo!
Can't say it.
Woo!
We're gonna find out. Damn it, I want to know now.
Yeah, I think we tease ourselves more than anything.
Yeah.
Now I really want to know.
DXN, any shout outs before we close out the show?
Not really. But thank you guys. Shout out to you guys.
Thank you so much for
It was
being on.
awesome to have you guys. I felt that it was a show. We actually had to cut a lot of our points because you guys were really awesome, really good answers. So really appreciate the time today with you.
Thanks for
Thank you
having
guys
us.
too. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure being able to cast your games and then see you guys, of course, kind of rise up and get the opportunity that I think everyone who watched the tier 2 scene knew that you guys deserved, especially that last win up against Luminosity during the Nerd Street Gamers last week. So congratulations. Thank you guys for being on. Guys, that was Cutefatboy and DXN from China Win. Absolute pleasure having them. I absolutely love them. Harvey, any last words before we close out the show?
No, excited to see you again. Every time we come on, there's so much news. And I think that the next time we come on, I'm actually going to be able to play Icebox. So, or Icebox, or the new map. So it's going to be great. We're going to talk about it a lot.
Yeah. All right. So that's going to go ahead and do it for us. Remember, this is a bi-monthly show or bi-weekly. It's weird how those definitions work out because they both mean two different things.
Yep.
Anyhow. 2 weeks from now is going to be the next episode of Running It Back. And so make sure you're following us here at GiantSlayerTV. That's going to do it for us. From DXN, from Cutefatboy, MissHarvey, myself, and of course, everyone at GiantSlayer and Wisdom Group. Thank you all for tuning in. And we'll see you guys next episode.